I feel like this commentary might have been inevitable to some of you who have been paying attention to the stories that we've been covering on this channel, as well as the flow of the NHL. We've been talking a bunch over the past few days about the first overall pick in the 2020 draft, Alexis Lafreniere. Because, if you needed the update, some of the Rangers fans are kind of upset with the way that he has been performing this preseason. Long story short, it's not been good, and now there are a bunch of conversations started up as to whether or not this guy could get traded, whether or not this guy is really worth keeping around, if that first overall status is holding him back, and more. The thing is, when it comes to that 2020 NHL draft, not only is it Alexis Lafreniere who was taken number 1 overall, that you could say has been somewhat disappointing at the start of his NHL career, but the guy taken immediately after at 2nd overall may be in a similar territory. Not exactly the same, but similar territory. Let's talk today about that 2nd overall pick behind Alexis Lafreniere, LA Kings forward Quinton Byfield. Because when it comes to Laf, there is an entire backlash going against this guy. He was an NHL player for so long. He never showed off the skills that made him a top pick in the NHL. But for Quinton Byfield, he's had somewhat of a different path. Now, I'm not going to go out there and say there's an extended level of backlash with Byfield in the same way there seems to be backlash with Lafreniere. We made our videos. You can check the comments to see how Rangers fans feel about that. But for QB, things are a bit different, mostly because he had a few short stints that were held up due to injury, and he just had a really strange development path so far. Quinton Byfield, firstly, is 21 years old. August 19th, 2002 is the birth date, so he is almost a full year younger than Alexis Lafreniere. Byfield is also a big dude, 6'5", 216, left-handed center, and when he was drafted in the 2nd overall spot in 2020, he was dubbed as one of these guys that if he pans out, he could be a similar Evgeny Malkin-type player. Big, quality, solid frame that can dangle around guys with soft hands and make great plays. Byfield had a very nice playmaker's touch, and he could dance around the ice like a ballerina. It's why he was so successful in the OHL so early on, and it's why the LA Kings took him 2nd overall. Ever since getting drafted, though, he had spent some time in the AHL to varying levels of success. He bounced around between the AHL and the regular LA Kings. Last year, he had 22 points in 53 games played for LA and 4 points in 6 games in the playoffs. The big thing about Byfield is when they placed him on a line with Anze Kopitar and Adrian Kempe, things started to look really good. Very solid lineup of guys and a really good talent pool that complemented themselves. It's just for Byfield that change came towards the end of the season, and now the sentiment amongst Kings fans more so seems to be, hey, this guy's just got to get a full year on that line. You're starting to see his confidence play up a little bit more. This is what he needs. There isn't that same level of frustration that Alexis Lafreniere brings with the Rangers fan base. I think more of this has to do with the fact that Lafreniere was an NHL player longer than Byfield, and there is, of course, a much higher level of status going 1st overall compared to 2nd overall. Sorry, Capo Caco, that's just kind of how it is. But to extend this conversation even further, what I wanted to do was take a look at 2 posts made on the LA Kings subreddit. Take a look at this one posted by C. Millhouse from Thursday, October 5th. Byfield is consistently the least notable player on the ice, and I'm starting to wonder if it's intentional. He opts for dump-ins, tips to others, drop passes, etc., and consequently, he's just kind of there. He seems to hate having the puck on his stick. I worry the anxiety associated with being a 2nd overall pick is getting in his head, so he tries to do something that doesn't screw up anything, but also doesn't add much value. The top comment from Sleazy says this: since Byfield joined the Kopitar-Kempe line, they look way more effective. Hard to say why, but I'm fine with it. If he can ever find some offense, they'll be a serious force as a trio. Now, to combat this perspective, what I wanted to also take a look at was this post made by Austin Stanovich on October 3rd on the Hockey News. Kings Byfield is healthy and ready for a breakout season. Few players are under a microscope like QB, but he's ready to take the next step. He posted a career-high 22 points and 4 points in the playoff games, but a lot of the focus was placed on him scoring just 3 goals in 53 games. It's fair for fans to want more from Byfield, but it's important to note the nagging injuries he dealt with last season, injuries that weren't revealed until after the season ended. During the exit interviews, it was revealed that he was sick for a month early in the season and lost 20 pounds, weight that he never fully put back on. "Honestly, I don't think I ever fully recovered throughout the year," said Byfield. "I got close to where I wanted to be, but I was still a little lighter than what I came to camp last year." Then he had confirmed that he had regained and even added some weight this summer. "I only got 3 goals last year. That's definitely what everyone is talking about," said Byfield. "But you don't realize what issues and stuff people are dealing with. You know, second game of the year I sprained my wrist, and the whole year I didn't miss any time from that injury, and the same with the other wrist, so I couldn't really feel my hands out there the whole year." Now, there's a little bit more written about in this article on the Hockey News. There are a few more quotes from Byfield himself that I wanted to talk about too. But the biggest difference here between Alexis Lafreniere and QB is that Lafreniere doesn't really have many excuses. The guy has played in the NHL longer. He has, at least to our understanding, been a lot more healthy than Byfield has. And when it comes to the demand of the NHL game, I feel like it's fair to say that Quinton Byfield has a bit more that he needs to get under his belt than Lafreniere, mostly due to positioning and due to frames. Alexis Lafreniere is a regular-sized guy with mobility issues. Quinton Byfield is a supposedly playmaking center that's 6'5", 200-plus pounds, and really needs to learn how to dangle around NHL players like he did in the OHL. If he's able to find that level of effectiveness in this league, that's what's going to unlock his offensive potential. And even when he doesn't do that, he's playing on a line with Kopitar and Kempe. He's just doing his thing. He's dumping the puck in. He's making solid plays. He's looking like an effective NHL player. And there isn't a level of backlash that exists here like there is with Lafreniere, because Byfield has the benefit of the doubt. This guy was hurt. This guy was sick for a good chunk of last year. So there isn't really that comparison to make that says, oh yeah, Lafreniere's been so disappointing. Well, so has Byfield. In fact, you could say that both of these guys are under a pretty tight microscope, because the guy who went 3rd overall, Tim Stützle in Ottawa, yeah, that guy's a 90-point player in the NHL already. You could debate he's a 100-point caliber player. If he reached that mark this season, I don't think anybody would be surprised. But QB and Lafreniere going 1 and 2 above Stützle definitely doesn't look good in the short term. But for both of these guys, all we can do is hope that the best is yet to come. Take a look at some more quotes made by Byfield in this Hockey News article. "I find that you get your goals in different ways," Byfield said when discussing some of the challenges of translating OHL, AHL, and NHL success. "There's more stuff around the net in the higher levels. There's not as many rush chances as there were in juniors. It's more free-flowing in juniors. Guys don't really know defense, not back-checking fully. Each level you go up, it definitely gets harder. The competition gets better. The defense gets better. It's just trying to find the right spaces and watching as much video as possible to find the right spots I should be going to." And when you talk about free-flowing, lack of defensive play in junior, I feel like that comment applies to nobody more than Alexis Lafreniere, who had played in a weak QMJHL league, but I digress. "It feels good, just being able to come into camp each day knowing where I'm at," said Byfield. "Just knowing where I'm at, it does really feel good. All the other camps coming in, I don't know if I was going to play center, what line, who my wingers are, so right now it's definitely a good feeling. The comfort is there, and that's very important." To end off this video, we're going over some comments made by head coach Todd McClellan. There's good and there's risk with QB. The real good part is that last season he left with confidence, and that's a real good thing. He approached the summer and looks more like a full-grown man. He's bigger and stronger. He fits a role on a line right now. All of those things are positive. He's picked up where he left off with his tenacity and his forecheck. He scored a couple goals in practice today he maybe wouldn't have last year. Those are all the real positives. The risk is he gets comfortable and starts to give it back. Some of those kids have to break through and elevate, and we think he can do that. I think he believes he can do that. And so far, signs indicate that he is doing that, but it's early. So heading into this season, sure, while Alexis Lafreniere has a spotlight on him because Rangers fans want him out, QB, the 2nd overall Quinton Byfield, is right there neck and neck, making improvements to his game and getting back up to speed. There's a lot more patience here with Byfield because he's had a lot more benefits of the doubt, but that doesn't change the fact that he still needs to break out probably this season. If you're a Kings fan, let me know your thoughts about Byfield, how he's performed in the preseason so far. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about Byfield just in general as well. Where do you think he's going to go this season? I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.